Before the great flood myths echoed across cultures, before human history was even supposed to begin, structures already stood, massive, precise, and utterly baffling. Stones carved with such detail they look like they were cut with machines. Pillars weighing hundreds of tons, somehow lifted into place by people who, according to our history books, had barely mastered farming. Think about it. How could supposedly primitive humans have built structures that modern engineers still struggle to explain? Were these remnants of a forgotten civilization, one erased by the flood myths found in almost every ancient culture? Or were they something else entirely, artifacts of knowledge we can't even begin to imagine? One thing is certain. These sites should not exist, and yet they do. If mysteries like this fascinate you, hit that like button. It helps more than you think. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss our deep dives into the strange and unexplained. And hey, share this video with a friend who loves history's biggest puzzles. See what they think. Now, let's explore the most terrifying pre-flood structures humans could never have built. The forgotten civilizations. History books tell us civilization began around 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, with farming villages slowly evolving into cities. But what if that's only the last chapter of a much older story? What if entire civilizations rose, thrived, and fell long before the first cuneiform tablet was pressed into clay? Archaeologists are starting to uncover evidence that hints at just that. Monuments buried deep beneath the earth, tools and carvings that don't match the technology of their supposed era. Even myths passed down from culture to culture, whispering of golden ages and great cataclysms. Think about it. Why do so many ancient traditions speak of a time before time, a lost age when humans walked alongside gods or wielded knowledge we can't explain today? Were these just stories, or fragmented memories of real people whose civilizations were swallowed by catastrophe? The idea of forgotten civilizations is terrifying, not just because it suggests entire human epochs have been erased, but because it forces us to ask, what else are we missing? And as we peel back the layers of earth and myth, a picture begins to emerge. A shadowy glimpse of builders who came before us, whose works remain standing against all odds. If this is the prologue, then the flood myths are the first chapter of their downfall. The flood myths, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica, from the icy north to the islands of the Pacific, nearly every ancient culture tells the same story. A great flood that nearly wiped humanity from the face of the earth. The Sumerians wrote of Ziusudra, a man who built a massive boat to survive. The god's watery wrath. In the Hebrew Bible, Noah plays the same role. Across the ocean, the Aztecs spoke of floods that destroyed earlier worlds, while in Hindu tradition, the god Vishnu warned Manu to build a vessel before the waters came. Even the Greeks had Deucalion, who, like Noah, rides out the deluge. How? Do so many cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, share the same tale? Was it simply a shared metaphor for renewal, or the echo of a real cataclysm? Geologists point to the end of the last ice age, when melting glaciers sent sea levels rising over 300 feet. Entire coastlines vanished. Fertile lands turned into seabeds. For the people living then, it must have felt like the world itself was drowning. But here's the unnerving part. Some of the structures we'll explore in this series were already standing when these floods hit. They survived while their builders, and maybe whole civilizations, did not. And one of the clearest windows into this forgotten world lies in a hilltop sanctuary in modern-day Turkey, Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe. High on a barren hillside in southeastern Turkey stands a site so old, so advanced, it has completely upended what we thought we knew about human history. Göbekli Tepe. Dating back nearly 12,000 years, thousands of years before the pyramids or Stonehenge, this site wasn't a village or a farm or even a city. It was a temple. A complex of towering stone pillars, carved with intricate animals, symbols, and abstract designs. Imagine hunter-gatherers, people who supposedly had no writing, no cities, no agriculture, coming together to build massive stone enclosures weighing tons. How is that even possible? The official explanation says small bands of nomads somehow organized themselves, moved stones up the hill, and erected them with primitive tools. But here's the question no one can fully answer. Why would they? They had no permanent settlements, no farms to sustain large groups of workers. Yet the architecture suggests sophisticated planning, advanced knowledge of stonework, and a deep symbolic purpose. Some researchers believe Göbekli Tepe was a place of worship, others say it was an astronomical observatory. But one thing is clear: it shouldn't exist in its time. What's more mysterious? At some point, the builders deliberately buried it under tons of earth, as if hiding it from the world, or protecting it from something. And if Göbekli Tepe could be built so long ago, what else might have been lost to time? 4. The Baalbek Megaliths. In the ancient city of Baalbek, Lebanon, lies one of the most baffling engineering feats on Earth. Here stand the ruins of a Roman temple complex, but beneath those Roman columns rests something far older and far stranger: the megaliths. At the base of the site are colossal stone blocks, some weighing over 800 tons. To put that in perspective, that's the weight of more than a fully loaded Boeing 747. Even with today's cranes and machinery, moving a single block of that size would be an extreme challenge. And yet, thousands of years ago, someone not only quarried these stones, but transported them over rough terrain and set them precisely into place. The Romans later built their grand temples on top of this mysterious platform, but scholars agree the Romans didn't build the base. It was already there, waiting. So who did, and how? Some say it was simply a matter of ingenuity and manpower, but the sheer size and precision defy those explanations. Others believe Baalbek's foundations belong to a civilization far older than Rome, perhaps even pre-flood. And the most puzzling part? In a nearby quarry lies the stone of the pregnant woman, a megalith even larger, over 1,000 tons, that was never moved. It sits abandoned as if the builders had suddenly vanished, leaving behind a question that echoes through history. Who were they? The Sphinx Enigma. Guarding the Giza Plateau is one of the most iconic monuments on Earth, the Great Sphinx, carved from a single block of limestone. It's long been considered a masterpiece of ancient Egyptian civilization. But what if the Sphinx is far older than Egypt itself? Mainstream archaeology dates it to around 4,500 years ago, during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. Yet geologists studying the body of the Sphinx noticed something unusual: deep vertical grooves and patterns that don't match desert erosion. Instead, they resemble water damage, rainfall that could only have occurred thousands of years earlier, when the Sahara was still a fertile, rainy land. If this analysis is correct, it means the Sphinx might date back not 4,500 years, but 9,000, or even 12,000 years. That would place its construction in a time when, according to history, no advanced civilization existed to carve such a monument. The head of the Sphinx also raises questions. Many believe it's disproportionately small compared to the body, suggesting it may have been recarved at a later date. Was the original head something else entirely? A lion? A jackal? Something we no longer recognize? If the Sphinx truly predates Egypt, then it isn't just a statue. It's a relic from a lost world, standing silently through floods, sands, and civilizations that rose and fell around it. Yonaguni Monument. Off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island, divers discovered something that shouldn't exist: a massive stone structure lying 80 feet beneath the sea. At first glance, it looks like a natural rock formation. But as you swim closer, the geometry tells a different story. The Yonaguni Monument features enormous terraces, steps, and flat platforms with sharp 90-degree angles. Some parts look like roads, others like ceremonial plazas. Divers have even pointed out what appear to be carvings, faces, animals, symbols, etched into the stone. Geologists debate whether it's natural or man-made. Some argue tectonic activity fractured the sandstone into neat patterns, but others insist the scale and precision are too deliberate to be accidental. And here's the chilling part: if it was built by humans, it must have been constructed over 10,000 years ago, before rising seas swallowed it whole. That would place the Yonaguni monument in the same era as Göbekli Tepe, an age when mainstream history insists humans were still scattered hunter-gatherers. So who built it? Was it an advanced coastal civilization wiped out by the post-Ice Age floods? Or are we staring at a natural wonder onto which our minds project order and meaning? Whatever the answer, Yonaguni serves as a haunting reminder. Beneath the oceans lie entire chapters of human history we've yet to uncover. 7. Puma Punku. High in the Bolivian Andes, at nearly 13,000 feet above sea level, lies the ancient site of Puma Punku, one of the most perplexing ruins on the planet. At first glance, it looks like piles of broken stone scattered across the plateau. But look closer, and you'll see something astonishing. The stones here are cut with such precision that even a razor blade can't slip between them. Massive blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, are carved into intricate H-shapes and interlocking patterns, as if they were part of some giant 3D puzzle. These cuts are so sharp, so exact, that they resemble the work of modern machines. Yet mainstream archaeology tells us they were crafted by people with copper chisels and stone hammers. How could primitive tools produce engineering on par with today's technology? And how did ancient builders transport and place stones of such staggering weight at such a high altitude, where oxygen is thin and conditions harsh? Some believe Puma Punku was part of a grand temple complex built by the Tiwanaku civilization. Others suggest it may have been even older, the remnants of a forgotten people whose knowledge vanished in a cataclysm. Standing among those shattered blocks, you can't help but wonder, are we looking at ruins, or at the broken pieces of a technology we've lost? 8. Nan Madol. In the remote Pacific, on the island of Pohnpei, lies a city unlike any other, Nan Madol. Often called the Venice of the Pacific, it's built directly on the ocean, an entire network of artificial islets connected by canals. But the real mystery isn't the layout, it's the building material. The city is constructed from massive basalt columns, some weighing up to 50 tons each. These hexagonal stones weren't quarried nearby. They had to be transported across rough terrain, then stacked with astonishing precision. Imagine trying to move stone logs the size of buses without wheels, cranes, or 9. Mohenjo-Daro. On the banks of the Indus River in present-day Pakistan lie the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, a city that thrived over 4,000 years ago. At first glance, it looks like just another ancient settlement. Brick streets, houses, and public buildings. But the deeper you look, the stranger it becomes. Mohenjo-Daro was shockingly advanced for its time. The city had straight grid-like streets, multi-story homes, and one of the earliest known sewer systems in human history. Clean water flowed in, waste drained out, something many later civilizations didn't manage for centuries. But here's the mystery. How did such a sophisticated city vanish so suddenly? Archaeologists uncovered skeletons lying in the streets, as if people had died in a sudden catastrophe. Some researchers even claimed traces of radiation were found in the soil and bones, leading fringe theories to suggest an ancient explosion, almost like a prehistoric nuclear blast. Mainstream scholars remain cautious, pointing instead to droughts, floods, or invasions. Yet the abrupt collapse still feels unsettling. A city so carefully planned, so advanced for its age, wiped from the map with little trace of why. And perhaps the most haunting question of all, was Mohenjo-Daro just a remarkable Bronze Age city, or a faint echo of something older, a memory of pre-flood engineering carried into history? 10. The Osirian. Beneath the sands of Abydos in Egypt lies a structure that feels out of place, even among the grandeur of pharaonic monuments. The Osirian. Discovered behind the temple of Seti I, the Osirian doesn't look like typical Egyptian architecture. Instead of ornate carvings and slender columns, it features enormous granite blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, set deep into the earth in a style far more primitive, yet somehow more monumental. It almost resembles megalithic sites like Baalbek or Stonehenge more than the temples of Egypt. Here's the puzzle. The Osirian was supposedly built during Seti's reign, around 3,200 years ago. But the style and construction methods don't fit that timeline at all. Many Egyptologists admit it looks far older, as if Seti simply built his temple next to a relic from an earlier age. Adding to the mystery, the structure includes a central pool fed by natural springs. Was it symbolic of the primeval waters of creation? Or was it designed with a practical, possibly even technological purpose in mind? If the Osirian truly predates dynastic Egypt, then it may be one of the last surviving windows into a forgotten, pre-flood civilization, one that laid the groundwork long before the pharaohs ever ruled. It's a reminder that even in the land of pyramids, secrets still lie buried beneath the sand. Stonehenge's hidden twin. Stonehenge may be the most famous stone circle in the world, but what if it wasn't unique? Beneath the fields of Britain, archaeologists have uncovered evidence of an even larger, older, and stranger monument, sometimes called Stonehenge's hidden twin. Just a few miles away at Durrington Walls, ground-penetrating radar revealed a ring of massive pits arranged in a perfect circle nearly a mile wide. Each pit is about 30 feet across and deep enough to swallow a two-story house. Taken together, they form one of the largest prehistoric monuments ever discovered in Britain. The scale alone is staggering. Whoever designed this didn't just move stones, they reshaped the very landscape. And while Stonehenge is aligned with the solstices, this hidden twin seems to follow a different purpose, one still unknown. What's more, some researchers believe this site predates Stonehenge itself, pushing the origins of megalithic construction in Britain back even further. Could this be evidence of a tradition carried from an earlier forgotten culture? If so, then Stonehenge may not be a one-off marvel, but just the latest echo of a building practice rooted in a much deeper past. And if Stonehenge's twin was lost for millennia, hidden beneath farmland, how many more secrets still lie buried just out of sight? 12. The Olmec Heads. In the jungles of Mexico, scattered across ancient Olmec sites, stand colossal stone heads, each carved from single basalt boulders, some weighing up to 40 tons. They tower over the landscape, their faces frozen in stern expressions, wearing what look like helmets. But here's the mystery. These heads date back over 3,000 years, long before the Aztecs, Mayans, or Incas ever rose to power. Moving and carving stones of this size should have been nearly impossible for a culture without the wheel, without beasts of burden, and without metal tools. Yet the Olmec achieved it with uncanny skill. Each head is unique, with detailed features that many believe represent actual rulers. The craftsmanship is undeniable. But the bigger question is, where did the Olmec get this knowledge? Their civilization appears almost suddenly in history, with no gradual buildup. Advanced art, organized cities, even complex religious systems, seemingly out of nowhere. Some fringe researchers argue the head's features suggest influences from faraway places, Africa, the Pacific, even beyond. Mainstream scholars caution against such leaps, pointing instead to the Olmec's own ingenuity. But still, the sense lingers. The Olmec didn't just appear, they inherited something. Whether symbolic guardians, rulers immortalized, or echoes of an older tradition, the Olmec heads challenge the idea that Mesoamerican civilization began in isolation. Derinkuyu Underground City. Beneath the rolling plains of Cappadocia in Turkey lies a hidden world. Derinkuyu, an underground city, sprawling across multiple levels, deep below the earth. Discovered only in the 1960s when a local man knocked down a wall in his basement, it revealed a labyrinth of tunnels, chambers, and passageways large enough to house tens of thousands of people. The scale is astonishing. Derinkuyu plunges over 280 feet into the ground with ventilation shafts, wells, stables, kitchens, even chapels. Giant stone doors could be rolled into place to seal off sections of the city, protecting its inhabitants from intruders. It wasn't just a shelter, it was a fortress. Mainstream history suggests Derinkuyu was expanded during Byzantine times, used as refuge from invasions. But here's the question: who started it? The earliest layers are far more primitive, carved into solid volcanic rock with methods we still don't fully understand. Was it begun thousands of years earlier, in an age now forgotten? And why go underground at all? Was it defense against enemies or something more terrifying, like environmental catastrophe, war, or even memories of a flood? Walking through its narrow passages today, you feel the weight of ages pressing down. Derinkuyu isn't just a city. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest mysteries aren't built above ground, but hidden in the depths below. Chartburu. Tiwanaku. On the windswept shores of Lake Titicaca in Bolivia lies Tiwanaku, a city shrouded in mystery. At its height, it was the center of a powerful civilization that thrived long before the Inca. But the ruins that remain today raise more questions than answers. At the heart of Tiwanaku stands the Akapana Pyramid, a massive terraced platform, and the famous Gateway of the Sun, an enormous stone arch carved from a single block of andesite. The carvings on its surface depict gods, animals, and strange symbols whose meanings are still debated. But beyond its artistry, the site's engineering is what truly stuns. Gigantic stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, were precisely cut and fitted together without mortar. The precision rivals that of Pumapunku, which lies nearby. How did a people with no written language and supposedly limited tools achieve such mastery? Even more puzzling, Lake Titicaca itself shows signs of dramatic shifts in water level over the millennia. Was Tiwanaku built in a fertile plain, later drowned or abandoned by environmental catastrophe? Some suggest its origins might stretch, back far earlier than conventional history admits, perhaps even to pre-flood times. Today, Tiwanaku is a ruin. But its stones still whisper of a civilization that commanded extraordinary skill, one that forces us to reconsider the timeline of human ingenuity. Easter Island statues. Far out in the Pacific Ocean, on one of the most remote inhabited islands on Earth, stand nearly 900 colossal stone figures known as the Moai. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, has become synonymous with mystery, and the statues are at the heart of it. Each Moai towers over the landscape, some standing over 30 feet tall and weighing more than 70 tons. Carved from volcanic tuff, they were somehow transported from the quarries where they were cut to various sites across the island. The question is, how? For decades, theories abounded. Were they rolled on logs, dragged with ropes, or walked upright with a clever rocking motion? Experiments suggest some methods could work, but the logistics remain daunting, especially given the islanders' limited resources. Even stranger, most of the statues aren't just heads. Their bodies extend deep underground, buried by centuries of soil and erosion. Excavations revealed intricate carvings on their backs, symbols hinting at lost traditions and forgotten meanings. Local legends say the statues were imbued with mana, a spiritual power, perhaps serving as guardians or representations of ancestors. But their sheer size raises another question. Were the Rapa Nui people remembering, or trying to recreate, something they had seen or heard of before? Standing silent against the ocean winds, the Moai remain a haunting riddle of human willpower, isolation, and perhaps echoes of a much older knowledge. The Hippogym of Malta. Beneath the bustling streets of modern Malta lies one of the most astonishing underground complexes in the world, the Halsaflieni Hypogeum. Discovered by chance in the early 1900s, this labyrinth stretches across 3 levels, carved entirely into solid limestone more than 5,000 years ago. The Hypogeum wasn't just a tomb, it was a sacred space. Archaeologists found thousands of skeletons within its chambers, along with statues and artifacts that suggest ritual use. But it's the architecture that leaves visitors speechless. Narrow passages open into vast halls supported by massive pillars, complete with carved ceilings that mimic surface-level structures. It feels less like a cave, more like a deliberate subterranean temple. One chamber, known as the Oracle Room, is especially strange. Its acoustic design allows a voice to resonate powerfully throughout the complex. Was it meant to amplify chants, rituals, or something more mysterious? Some even speculate it was designed with an understanding of sound, frequencies far beyond its time. How did Neolithic people, with only basic tools, achieve such precision underground? And why did they choose to build downward instead of upward? The hypogeum suggests not just technical ability, but a level of planning and spiritual focus that seems centuries ahead of its supposed era. It's as if the builders carried with them memories of an earlier lost tradition, one hidden away beneath the earth, the Antikythera mechanism. In 1901, divers exploring a Roman shipwreck off the coast of Antikythera, Greece, found a corroded lump of bronze that seemed unremarkable at first. But once cleaned, it revealed gears, dozens of them, fitted together in a way no one expected from the ancient world. This was the Antikythera mechanism, often called the world's first computer. Dating back over 2,000 years, the device could predict eclipses, chart the movements of the planets, and track complex astronomical cycles with astonishing accuracy. It was a mechanical marvel, something historians once believed wasn't possible until the 14th century. Yet here it was, centuries ahead of its time. The mechanism's precision suggests a level of craftsmanship and scientific knowledge that seems out of place in its era. Who built it? And how did such technology appear, only to vanish again for more than 1,000 years? Some argue it was the product of a lost Greek genius, an outlier of brilliance. Others wonder if it hints at a much deeper reservoir of forgotten knowledge, technologies carried forward from civilizations we no longer remember. The Antikythera mechanism is more than a relic. It's a reminder. Human history isn't a straight line of progress. Sometimes it feels like we're rediscovering knowledge we once had, only to lose it again. 8. The Great Pyramid Mysteries. Rising from the sands of Giza, the Great Pyramid of Khufu is one of the most studied structures in the world, and still one of the least understood. Built over 4,500 years ago, according to mainstream history, it was supposedly constructed with nothing more than copper tools, ropes, and sheer manpower. Yet its precision continues to astonish. Each side of the pyramid's base measures more than 750 feet. Yet the difference in length between them is less than 2 inches. The structure is aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal points, north, south, east, and west, with an accuracy modern builders would struggle to replicate without advanced equipment. Inside, the grand gallery and mysterious chambers are cut with geometric precision, as if designed with a knowledge of mathematics and engineering centuries ahead of their time. Even the placement of the pyramid is uncanny. It sits at the very center of Earth's landmass, with its meridians and parallels intersecting more accurately than chance should allow. Was this deliberate or an extraordinary coincidence? How were millions of limestone blocks, some weighing over 70 tons, transported and set into place with such perfection? Traditional explanations, ramps, pulleys, and brute labor, fall short when you consider the scale and accuracy. The Great Pyramid isn't just a tomb. It may be the greatest riddle of human history, a monument that seems to whisper of knowledge lost to the flood of time. In the copper mines of Michigan. Far from the deserts of Egypt or the jungles of South America, a quieter mystery lies in North America's Upper Peninsula, ancient copper mines that date back thousands of years. Long before Europeans arrived, these mines were dug deep into the bedrock, extracting an estimated 500 million pounds of pure copper. Archaeologists believe the mining began around 3000 BC and continued for over a millennium. But here's the puzzle. Where did all that copper go? The amount extracted far exceeds what native peoples of the region are thought to have used for tools and ornaments. Some researchers suspect vast quantities simply vanished from the record. Adding to the intrigue, many of these mines show signs of advanced techniques. Stone hammers were found, yes, but the scale of the operation suggests a level of organization and purpose that feels unusual for the time. And when you consider that copper is essential for creating bronze, it sparks an unsettling question. Could this metal have traveled far beyond the Americas, feeding into the Old World's Bronze Age mainstream? Scholars dismiss transoceanic trade in that era, but the mystery lingers. Who organized such massive extraction and what drove it? The ancient mines of Michigan are a reminder that even in places far from the cradle of civilization, people were shaping the world in ways we still don't fully understand. The Giant's Causeway myths. On the rugged coast of northern Ireland lies a natural wonder that looks anything but natural, the Giant's Causeway. Here, more than 40,000 interlocking basalt columns rise from the sea like a vast stone staircase, their tops forming neat hexagons so precise they seem carved by hand. Geologists explain the formation as the result of volcanic activity some 50 million years ago. Lava cooled and cracked into geometric shapes, creating the eerie, otherworldly landscape we see today. But for centuries, locals told a different story, one of giants. According to legend, the Irish giant Fionn mac Cumhail built the causeway as a bridge to Scotland, where he intended to challenge his rival, the giant Benandonner. When Fionn realized his opponent was far larger than expected, his clever wife disguised him as a baby. Seeing the infant, Benandonner assumed the father must be unimaginably huge and fled back to Scotland, tearing up the causeway behind him. Folklore aside, the Giant's Causeway sparks an interesting question. How often do natural formations inspire myths of builders, giants, or gods? And how many times might real ancient constructions have been dismissed as just nature? While the causeway may not be a man-made structure, its presence in myth reminds us of something important. Human imagination often preserves echoes of awe, wonder, and perhaps even memories of earlier, lost worlds. Boom. Teotihuacan. Just outside modern-day Mexico City lies one of the most extraordinary archaeological sites in the Americas, Teotihuacan, the City of the Gods. At its height, around 1,500 years ago, it was home to more than 100,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the world. But what truly sets it apart are its vast pyramids and mysterious layout. The Pyramid of the Sun rises 200 feet into the sky, built from millions of tons of stone. Nearby stands the Pyramid of the Moon and the Grand Avenue of the Dead, a boulevard lined with temples and plazas stretching for miles. The sheer scale of construction is staggering, but so is the precision. The city's layout appears astronomically aligned, with structures positioned in harmony with celestial events. Some researchers even claim the three main pyramids mirror the stars of Orion's belt, echoing similar theories about Giza. Was this coincidence or evidence of shared ancient knowledge? Adding to the mystery, Teotihuacan's original builders remain unknown. The Aztecs arrived centuries later and found the city abandoned, giving it its name. The place where gods were born. Who actually built it? Why was it deserted? Teotihuacan is a reminder that even in the heart of the New World, monumental civilizations rose and fell, leaving behind riddles carved into stone. The Ark sites. For thousands of years, stories of a great flood have been tied to one central image, a massive ark built to save humanity and animals from destruction. While many treat it as pure myth, explorers and researchers have long searched for physical evidence, and some believe they may have found it. In the mountains of eastern Turkey, near Mount Ararat, the traditional resting place of Noah's Ark, satellite images revealed a strange, boat-shaped formation known as the Darupanar site. Measuring over 500 feet long, it matches the biblical description almost exactly. Excavations have uncovered unusual structures beneath the soil, including what some claim are petrified wooden beams and metal fittings. Skeptics argue the shape is a natural geological formation, the result of erosion. But others insist the patterns are too deliberate, too symmetrical to be explained away. Beyond Ararat, similar ark-like shapes have been reported in other remote locations, each sparking waves of speculation. Were these real vessels built by survivors of an ancient cataclysm? Or are they symbols, myths encoded in stone by cultures remembering the same catastrophe in different ways? Whether literal or metaphorical, the search for the Ark reveals something deeper. Humanity carries a memory of survival, of starting again after disaster. And perhaps hidden in those mountains lies more than just legend. It may be the last echo of a world swept away. The Black Sea Flood. Beneath the calm surface of the Black Sea lies evidence of one of the most dramatic floods in human memory. Around 7,500 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, sea levels were rising rapidly. According to geological studies, the Mediterranean spilled over through the Bosporus Strait, crashing into a freshwater lake that once occupied the Black Sea basin. The result? Catastrophic flooding. Water surged in with such force it may have raised the Black Sea by hundreds of feet in just a matter of months. Fertile farmland, entire villages, perhaps whole cultures, drowned almost overnight. What makes this especially compelling is the link to ancient flood myths. Researchers have suggested that this very event could be the root of the stories told in Mesopotamia, the Bible, and beyond. Imagine the trauma of witnessing your world swallowed by the sea, and the memory being passed down through generations until it became legend. Adding weight to the theory, archaeologists have discovered submerged settlements along the Black Sea's coasts, stone structures, tools, and signs of human life lying beneath the waves. If true, the Black Sea flood wasn't just a local disaster. It may have been the very event that etched the Great Flood into humanity's collective memory, a real cataclysm, remembered in myth, that forever reshaped civilization. Lost Atlantis theories. Few legends have captivated the human imagination. Like Atlantis, the fabled island civilization described by Plato. According to his account, Atlantis was a vast, powerful society that vanished in a single day and night of misfortune, swallowed by the sea. For centuries, scholars, explorers, and dreamers have searched for proof that this story was more than myth. Theories abound. Some place Atlantis in the Mediterranean, pointing to the eruption of Thera, Santorini, around 1600 BC, which devastated the Minoan civilization. Others look to the Atlantic Ocean itself, arguing the Azores Islands or even the Caribbean might hold its remains. Still others suggest more unconventional sites, Antarctica, South America, or even under the Sahara Desert. What makes Atlantis so enduring is not just the question of where, but what. Was it truly a single island nation, or was Plato preserving a distorted memory of a much older global civilization lost to floods at the end of the Ice Age? Modern science hasn't confirmed Atlantis, but discoveries like Göbekli Tepe, Yonaguni, and submerged cities remind us how much of the past still hides beneath the earth and sea. Perhaps Atlantis wasn't one place at all, but a symbol of many forgotten worlds erased by water. Whether real or metaphorical, Atlantis continues to serve as a haunting reminder. Great civilizations may rise and vanish, leaving only whispers. In myth. 25. The legacy of forgotten builders. Across continents and oceans, from towering pyramids to sunken monuments, a pattern emerges. These structures, impossible by the standards of their time, speak of a legacy far older than the civilizations we read about in textbooks. They suggest that human history isn't a neat, straight line, but a jagged story of rises and falls, of knowledge gained and knowledge lost. Maybe these builders weren't superhuman. Maybe they were simply us, humans no different in mind or spirit, but carrying skills and memories from an age swept away by catastrophe. The flood myths may not be just stories. They may be echoes of real survivors, clinging to fragments of what once was. What's terrifying isn't only what they built, it's what we've forgotten. Entire worlds erased by time, leaving behind only stone clues too stubborn to vanish. Each megalith, each buried temple, each submerged ruin asks the same quiet question: how much of our past is still missing? And perhaps the real lesson is this: civilizations are fragile. No matter how advanced, they can fall to nature, disaster, or even their own hubris. What remains is what endures: the stones, the myths, and the mysteries. The legacy of these forgotten builders isn't just in their monuments. It's in the reminder that we are not the first to stand in awe of our own achievements, and we may not be the last to lose them.